she got pregnant for a reverend father at 14. In the bustling city of Abuja, where the streets hum with the energy of ambition and dreams both lost and found, lived a girl named Amarachi. Her name meant God's grace, a name that would become both her armor and her curse. Born to Sunday and Nena Okari, a middle-class couple struggling to make ends meet in the sprawling capital, Amarachi was a beacon of hope in their lives. Her father was a civil servant, and her mother ran a small provisions shop in Kubwa. Their faith was their compass, and the Catholic Church their sanctuary. From an early age, Amarachi stood out. Curious, imaginative, and kind, she was the kind of child that teachers adored and neighbors admired. She attended St. Agnes Catholic School, a reputable mission school in Gwarimpa, managed by the parish of St. Michael and staffed with both Nigerian and foreign clergy. The spiritual head of the parish and school was Reverend Father Jerome, a Caucasian priest from Ireland who had become something of a celebrity in the Abuja Catholic community. Father Jerome was in his 40s, with blue eyes that seemed to see through you, and a calm demeanor that masked the complexity of his character. He had been in Nigeria for nearly 2 decades and had built schools, orphanages, and health centers. To many, he was a saint. To Amarachi, at first, he was a spiritual guide and mentor. It started innocently. Father Jerome took a special interest in her academic work. He praised her discipline, encouraged her reading, and began to offer her extra lessons. Sometimes after school, he would call her to the parish office. Her parents, honored that the priest had noticed their daughter, encouraged her to go. It was, after all, Father Jerome. But slowly, his praises began to blur the line between mentorship and manipulation. He started asking her questions about her body, about puberty, cloaking them in the language of biology and concern. He gave her sweets. Sometimes money. He said she was like a daughter to him. Then came the touches, subtle at first, then invasive. By the time Amarachi turned 14, the abuse had turned into something more sinister. She didn't understand the nature of it, only that she felt dirty, ashamed, and terrified. She couldn't tell her parents. Who would believe that Father Jerome, the man who had baptized her younger brother, was capable of such a thing? When she began to feel sick, she attributed it to malaria. But the sickness lingered. Her once flat belly began to round. She fainted during morning assembly at school. That was when Sister Agnes, a Nigerian nun who taught biology, grew concerned. A pregnancy test confirmed what no one wanted to believe. Amarachi was pregnant. Her world imploded. Her parents were stunned into silence. Her mother wept uncontrollably. Her father went straight to the parish. Father Jerome denied everything. He called Amarachi a liar, a troubled child seeking attention. The church closed ranks. A senior bishop was brought in. The matter was handled internally. Within days, Father Jerome was transferred to another parish in Enugu. Amarachi was expelled from school for violating moral conduct. Her name was whispered with disgust. The shame was unbearable. Abuja's fast-paced life continued around her. Cars honked. Buildings rose. But inside Amarachi's family's modest flat in Kubwa, time stood still. She gave birth in a public hospital, alone except for her mother. It was a girl. She named her Alyubub, the miracle of God. For a year, Amarachi did not step outside. Depression wrapped itself around her like a thick blanket. But in that darkness, something stirred. Sister Agnes visited her often. She brought books, sewing kits, and sometimes, just silence. She reminded Amarachi of her dreams, of becoming a doctor, of helping others. With Sister Agnes' help, Amarachi enrolled in a GED program. She studied fiercely, her daughter sleeping beside her at night. She passed with distinction and earned a scholarship from an NGO supporting young mothers. She got into a nursing school in Gwagwalada. It wasn't easy. There were stares. Questions. Gossip. But Amarachi was no longer the broken girl hiding from the world. She was a fighter. By the time Alyubub turned 5, Amarachi had graduated and was working in a pediatric ward in Maitama General Hospital. She became a counselor for teenage mothers and gave public talks about abuse, consent, and resilience. She never mentioned Father Jerome by name, but her story resonated. More girls came forward. More questions were asked. Eventually, a newspaper published an exposé about abuse in missionary schools, and Amarachi was contacted. This time, she spoke. Loudly. Bravely. With detail. The backlash was fierce. The church threatened legal action. But Amarachi stood firm. Other victims came forward, some from as far as Kogi and Plateau. The pressure mounted. An internal investigation reopened the case. Father Jerome, now in his 60s, was quietly removed from ministry. Amarachi's face was on television, on posters, on magazine covers. She started a foundation, Alubube Project, named after her daughter, to provide legal and emotional support for girls who had been sexually abused, especially within religious spaces. Her voice changed laws. Amarachi's journey is not just a story of tragedy, it is a story of hope, of survival, of the power of one voice refusing to be silenced. From the glittering streets of Abuja to the deepest wounds of injustice, her life is a testimony that even in a world of wolves in robes, grace still triumphs. She was once broken. Now she builds others. She was once shamed. Now she speaks without fear. She was once alone. Now she leads a movement. And in her strength, countless other Amarachis rise.